Welcome to Season 2 of Coming Home to Ourselves, where we aim to bridge the gap between the sacred and modern day responsibilities, barriers, and life. I am Denise Alyssa, your host, channel, mystic, and guide, and I aim to empower you to become your own self-healer and an embodied co-creator of your life, supporting you in shedding what no longer serves and aligning you with your most authentic and connected version of self. Please note that I am not a medical professional and nothing said in this podcast should be misconstrued as medical advice or replacement of such. If you'd like to know more about my background, training, or the workshops, ceremonies, or other work I offer, please visit www.denisealyssa.com. Hi, friends. I am back and excited for Season 2 of my podcast, Coming Home to Ourselves. It only felt so fitting to align the seasons of this podcast with that of nature itself. So, as most of you already know, if you've been listening for a while, I don't so much align with the calendar year. As my spiritual awakening has really progressed and I have embodied that energy so much differently, I have become much more attuned to nature's cyclic way of being. And that includes that winter is really a time for tuning inwards and slowing down, and that rebirth energy really hits around now with the spring equinox coming up. So here we are. I'm back and I'm feeling ready to go. When I received this download about the timeline of my podcast and its seasons being meant to align with that of nature, I felt such a big sense of relief. I don't know if you are already kind of attuned to yourself in that way where you're receiving downloads from the universe or from your higher self, kind of guiding your path. But if you are already there, then you'll know that feeling that I'm talking about when something comes through, and often it's just through like an idea or a creative spark, but it feels really in alignment with your whole entire body. It's kind of like every cell resonates in a way with that idea that comes through. And now I don't want to bypass the fact that often that idea is then met with kind of an instant no, like the ego kicks in, the fear kicks in, the conditioning kicks in. And, it's so unique how we can go from this like channeled message coming through with our whole body kind of lighting up and saying yes to this idea. And then bam, like right away, that fear follows. And it's almost like you go from a whole body yes to a whole body no right away. But in this case, I really did feel a big sense of relief, and it reduced the pressure on me throughout this past winter and really allowed me to sink into rest and hibernation during what was a period of really deep integration within my own healing experience. At the time of recording this, I am still moving through that integration process, but I know that because I am allowing myself that time and space throughout this winter to really attune to my own inner cyclic way of being, that I allowed that integration process to be so much more natural and effective. So really often I see people who like deep dive into the healing work and they get so excited about the end result or so caught up in like the aesthetic of doing the work that they don't take that time out for themselves to really allow that integration process to complete. It's almost like we become addicted to that deep inner work and that healing work, but we process it on like a cognitive level instead of really taking that time to just allow ourselves to be in the in-between and to allow that integration process to happen. Integration is such a crucial piece of this work, to allow that work that we have been doing, that we have been working so hard on to truly sink into every cell. It really allows that healing on more of a cellular level and supports that full embodiment of the work that we have done. I think that some of us often, and I know this has been me in the past, it's not so much recently, but I see this a lot in other people and in my previous self as well. We end up understanding all of this work from a more cognitive level, but not allowing that process for it to be truly and authentically integrated into ourselves and therefore into our ways of being. So that then how we show up in the world just takes these natural shifts, right? And showing up in this way that we have done all of this work to be able to do in undoing our self-limiting beliefs, in undoing societal conditioning, in really aligning ourselves with our higher self, with spirit, with the earth, with the planet, with nature. If we don't do that process of integration and really allow that to show up in a more embodied way, then we're still coming at that through a cognitive level, right? That's a lot more labor. So when we have to consciously think every time that we do something or about how we are showing up in the world, I'm not saying don't consciously think about that, but what I am saying is that once you have had that integration experience, however long it takes for you, and there's going to be a lot of them, right? You don't just integrate once and then you're done. We're constantly coming back to the same things through a different lens, and we're meeting old versions of ourselves and old patterns and old ways of being from a different space. And every time that we complete that cycle, we have an opportunity to see how far we've come and to approach situations in a different way. And when we allow these integration periods to happen, then that allows us to move through those periods in a much more natural way. So yes, the first step is we have to bring consciousness to the unconscious, but you can't skip that process of integration to bring you to embodiment, right? There's a difference between consciousness and embodiment, and things feel much more natural, much more graceful, much more easeful when we are able to act from a more embodied space. While there are a number of things that you can do to support yourself through an integration process, it really is less about doing and more about being. So becoming aware and conscious of the process that you're in can be really helpful. But from there, really just checking in with yourself and seeing what you need at that time and allowing yourself to just be. But if you are someone who really needs to look at something like this through action steps, and I know a lot of us are because a lot of us are still operating on a very cognitive level, then the action steps that I might give you are things like rest. And I know that to some of you, that is not going to feel like a very actionable step, but conscious, intentional, aggressive rest can really be an action step in itself, right? And it's not the easiest step for a lot of people to take because a lot of people are not used to allowing themselves to rest without guilt. So you could add in some salt baths, some detox practices that support everything in moving through your system efficiently. You can, add in some gentle somatic practices to just really reconnect you with your body and support these shifts that your body is going through. But I really recommend that you just connect with the things that feel like they bring you home to yourself. Just ensuring that you do that in such a gentle way, remembering that we aren't trying to bring in more work for our body to integrate. We're trying to allow the space and hold the space for our body to do what it already knows how to do. How beautiful is that? And also, I recognize how challenging for some people in different stages of their lives to do that, but your body really does already know how to do this. So, in this, just really leaning into rest, leaning into quiet and gentle spaces, holding ourselves and nurturing the version of ourselves that we have worked so hard towards, that is in the process of intricately weaving itself together throughout our entire being on a truly cellular level. So just sitting with that for a moment, how does that feel to you? Do you allow yourself to rest without guilt, or do you just kind of always move on to that next step of healing, right? If you're kind of completing one process of healing, have you already started the next? Or do you allow that kind of bit of space in between? And when you are in that space in between, how do you hold yourself there? Or do you kind of like jump into busyness and distracting yourself or doing the next thing? Just allow that to sit in your body for a second and just notice what's coming up for you. When we fully integrate this work that we have done and come out of that integration process, it's true that it really feels as if there's no going back. You no longer have to think so much about how you're showing up in the world or doing this work, because it really does begin to just be your natural way of being. So, as nature is now preparing to move into the spring equinox in a few weeks, you may already be beginning to pick up on that rebirth style of energy. If you have not tapped into that yet and you're still in a hibernation process, or you're in your own inner winter, or possibly you're moving through your own integration process right now that maybe is not quite yet complete, don't feel that you need to rush ahead into this next season, okay? It's gonna show up in nature without you doing a thing. And it's gonna show up in your life too, in the way that is meant for you at this time in your life. And I really believe that it's safe for you to trust that. Now, I had initially thought that I would have like a full spring equinox ceremony or workshop online ready for you guys for spring equinox this year. But there are a few pieces of back end labor that are just not quite ready for that yet. So instead, I think today on the podcast, I'm going to offer you a few small snippets of what I may have done in something like a spring equinox ceremony for those of you who are hoping that I get that spring equinox up live online in time. I still might. So please feel free to check my website or join my mailing list if you're not already on there. Check any of my social media platforms, but really the best way is the newsletter and my website. That's how you're going to find out about these things as they come up live. As I'm shifting more of my business and my offerings in this way into online platforms, I am undergoing some shifts in my website as well to really create the container for everything that I have to offer for you guys and for all of these workshops and ceremonies and things that I'm receiving downloads on all the time. Some of these we used to do live. So I'm really, really excited to see where that goes and to see what kind of a container is created through my website within this next year. I'm going to have workshops and some ceremonies and various like multi-week programs and things on there for you. So it is going to take a while for the foundation of that to be created. I would say stay tuned over the next year. And I imagine that I will have at least the first of the workshops up there for you guys. If not spring equinox, then definitely for summer solstice. So, okay, into the good stuff. So, for those of you who are listening to this while driving or while preoccupied, you may just want to take a note of this timestamp, and I'll post it below as well, and you can come back to this later. But there's no harm in just letting yourself take in what you're able to take in at this time for wherever you are at this time. Just let the messages that I'm sharing come and enter you and just let them percolate, right? If you're not in a position right now to sit down with your journal and to really dive deep with yourself, then that's okay. That's what these podcasts are for. You take in the information, you just let it sit in your body, you percolate on it. And I think that a lot of you will see that over the coming days after you have done that, some of these ideas and guidance and intuition will just sort of start to come through, or synchronicities will start to pop up in your life to share the messages with you that you really need to hear and to take away from this. So obviously take into consideration any safety that needs to be taken into consideration. If you are driving, obviously don't close your eyes. You can all use your best judgment for this, but there really is no harm in just letting yourself take in the energy of this transmission and of this podcast today, and come back and sit with it later if you want to go deeper. If you're not able to right now, right? Come back with a journal. I won't be going as deep as I would in a ceremony anyways, so we don't really have to worry about that, but I am going to do a card reading for the spring equinox and just a bit of a reflective practice for you today. Okay, so you may just want to take a moment to center yourself if you can. We're not going into a meditative practice. We're just going to talk a little bit about the spring equinox, and I'm going to pull some cards and we'll do some reflection at the end. But I think before we start chatting, if you have the opportunity now to just center yourself in whatever way feels comfortable for you, just so that you can be taking in these messages in a little bit more of an intuitive nature. So if you have a centering practice that you like, then I would invite you to do it now. And if you don't, then you may just want to rub the palms of your hands together. You may want to feel your feet on the floor or your body anchored to the surface below you, whether that be a seat or a bed. Really feeling that connection to the earth below you, and allowing your energy to kind of naturally come back to your body. Maybe connecting with your breath or your heart space. Anything that just kind of welcomes you into a space of pausing. Anything that kind of welcomes you to begin coming home to yourself. As you do this, you may notice your body shifting. That's fine. Allow it to do what it needs to do. If you are really attuned, you may notice some of your energy beginning to come back to you. Reminding yourself that there's nothing you need to do at this time, but to just be here and to welcome in any intuitive guidance or messages that may be pertinent for you at this time. As always, for the highest and best of everyone involved. So, I hope everybody's feeling a little bit more grounded, a little bit more centered in this space. Spring equinox is really a time of nature's rebirth. It's what I think of as kind of the new year, even though it's not the calendar new year. It's when we witness life returning to nature around us, and energetically, it is a really beautiful time for us to plant our own seeds of intention for what we'd like to nurture, grow, and see come to fruition this year. So it's a fantastic time energetically to clear out what no longer serves us, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, and energetically as well. I do love to offer specific meditations and energy clearings that align with this energy. So think of it as a spring cleaning for the soul and subconscious mind. It's a really great opportunity to clear out self-limiting beliefs and other patterns and conditioning that no longer serves our highest and best selves, or these seeds that we are planting for our future. Some of you will be thinking about this as like a spring cleaning. Like if you are used to spring cleaning your home, you can be thinking about it the same way. If you are like me and you're really into gardening, if you think about gardening, the physical act of planting a seed, there are a few preparation steps that need to take place to support that seed in germinating and then in being able to fully take root and thrive. So you would not plant a valuable seed in a garden bed that was like overgrown or uncared for or not weeded or fertilized or loved in years, right? You're not going to take your most precious plant that is going to provide for you, if you're into flowers or vegetables, or maybe it's like a bush that is going to grow and be with you for years upon years in the future. You're not just going to throw that in the ground anywhere, right? You're probably going to make sure that you have tidied up that garden bed, that you have prepped the soil in the ways that that plant needs, or that you have fertilized or that you have weeded. You're not going to just stick it in the ground and like hope that it grows. Meanwhile, you have like weeds and grasses and whatever else it may be just like taking over and choking it out, right? So, this time of year is the same for your mind, heart, and soul, along with your physical life and environment. When you are planting these really valuable seeds of intention in your life for what you'd like to see come to fruition for you, you really want that seed to thrive. It can't thrive if your old self limiting beliefs, subconscious thoughts, and behaviors are strangling it like morning glory vines gone wild. I don't know if any of you have morning glory vines in your garden, but we do. And that shit is impossible to get rid of. You have to really dig down and dig out those roots and do it regularly in order for those vines not to just come back in. And that is much like a lot of these beliefs that we carry along with us, right? Some of us have been carrying beliefs that don't even belong to us. Maybe they came from past lives, or they came from our ancestors, or they came from our raising. And a lot of the beliefs that we carry subconsciously, they were beliefs that were programmed into us at a very, very young age. So, an age where we would not even had like the developmental ability to decipher what is yours and what is mine, right? Are these beliefs true for me? Or are these beliefs that my parents or my caregivers or my siblings carry that I am now taking on as if they were my own? We can go decades and even lifetimes carrying these beliefs that they were never even ours to begin with. They were never true for us. We pick them up just through life, through living, often as a very young child. And then we just seem to believe that they are ours. We take them on and we wear them and we carry them with us through every interaction, through every stage of our life, as if they are our own, as if they belong to us. And they don't, a lot of them, And sometimes they do. Sometimes you're going to come across a belief that maybe did belong to you, but it no longer serves you. It might have kept you safe at one time, but now it's just holding you back. So what we want to do is really stay on top of some of those more pervasive self-limiting beliefs that are running in the background of our subconscious, and they're kind of running our show without us even knowing it. So I really love Spring Equinox for this time, for really digging down and clearing out the roots of those patterns, those behaviors, those self-limiting beliefs that just no longer serve us, or maybe were never ours to begin with. And as we clear those out, we really create so much space to be able to plant the seeds of intention for what we really want to bring to fruition. But not only that, we create the space for manifestations that are ready and waiting for us, but they just can't reach us because there's no room, right? There's no room for them to land because our garden bed is so full. It's so full of overgrown weeds and things that need to be cleared away. And once those are cleared away, it's this miraculous shift where, like a vacuum, you kind of now suck in those manifestations that are more aligned for you at this time of your life, that are right there. They're right there waiting for you, and they're just waiting for space to land. So that's really how I view this season and Spring Equinox itself. I love that energy portal that the Spring Equinox brings. So hopefully some of this has aligned for you as well. Okay, I'm going to do a card reading now. We're going to take a look at what's asking to come through for you at this time as we honor this shifting of seasons, both in nature and in ourselves. And then I think at the end, we'll just do maybe not a meditation, but a bit of a reflective practice to go a little deeper for those of you who want to go a little deeper. And if you would like support in really going deeper through a guided meditation process to support you at this time, you can check out my seed planting meditation on my website to support you further. And of course, like I said, if I have a Spring Equinox ceremony or workshop available in time, then that is where to be right now. But if I don't, then please stay tuned for summer solstice because I'm really, really looking forward to that. So let's go ahead and get into the cards. Just see what wants to come through. And as usual, for those of you who are watching on video, I'm going to edit out some of my shuffling and some of my longer pauses as I'm channeling information just for ease of listening. It's not very entertaining on a podcast to have to listen to somebody just shuffle or sit in silence as they allow those channeled messages to come through. But I do always like to record my initial reading because I just find that so much of the guidance comes through so beautifully right in that moment, and it can be hard to kind of pick that up again, those exact messages. So bear with me here. Okay, Spirit, for the highest and best of everyone involved in regards to this spring equinox, we want to look at what messages are asking to come through at this time. What deck would like to... Here we go. We have the Divine Masters deck by Kyle Gray. Ooh, we got a lot of jumpers there. One sec. All right, so we are having some of the same cards come through that came through for my January New Year's podcast episode. So if you haven't already connected with the New Year's one, I would suggest going back and seeing if there's any messages that are still sitting there for you. This is really bringing me back to what I said earlier about spring equinox being a beautiful energetic portal for this work, right? So you really do want to take some time out during this month, or if you can, even ideally, like right at the spring equinox period, to tune in to yourself and really get quiet and ask your higher self, what is it that I need at this time? What is it that is asking to come through to me at this time? And take notice of the messages, really allowing yourself to see things from a shift in perspective, right? Like I'm seeing like a higher perspective or even just a change of angle. Something that maybe allows you to see your circumstances in a bit of a different way that could really be that small little shift that you need to really open up a lot of doors for you. The image that I'm getting is somebody who is actually just taking a few steps to the side and changing the angle of their body. And then what happens is there's like this opening, this expansion, and the light shifts, and it really just allows them to see opportunities within where they already are that they were missing before. They weren't able to see them before. So if that resonates for you, really just sitting with, if you're feeling blocked right now, if you're feeling like you've done the work, but you're just blocked, I think that this message is for you. And if you can sit with that, maybe even sit in meditation and observe yourself taking those few steps to the side and shifting your body to see your life through a slightly different lens. And I love it when this happens because it's showing us that we don't always need a huge leap. You know, we don't always need to upend our lives in order to have something completely new. Sometimes it is a matter of simply taking a few steps to the side, shifting our perspective that changes the lens and opens up this incredible portal of expansion and allows you to basically be fully experiencing a different life within the life that you were already in. It's like a timeline shift. That's really lovely because it, although it does require some level of intention and consciousness and a willingness to shift your perspective in that way, doesn't require you to move across the world. It doesn't necessarily require you to like quit your job or leave your family or leave your marriage or whatever. Sometimes really profound shifts can come through the simplest of adjustments. And so I feel like that's what it's telling you here, which is really lovely. Just remembering that there are miracles in everyday moments all the time. So again, that is a reminder that you don't have to upend everything to make the shifts that you may be looking to make. So just a shift in perspective can really offer that to you. Now, I would like to know what we need to leave behind. And I just heard my family come home from the grocery store. So if you all of a sudden hear little toddler feet or toddler noises, I apologize if that cuts into the audio. And if I get interrupted, then I apologize for that too. So, Spirit, what do we want to leave behind? We have the Enchanted Map Oracle cards by Colette Baron Reed. Spirit, for the highest and best of everyone involved, what do our listeners need to bring conscious awareness to in things to leave behind during this spring equinox? So, what we want to leave behind at this time is really hyper focusing on the details, okay? So, you don't need to know exactly how something is going to come to fruition in order to begin manifesting it. So you can leave behind that need to know every single step of the way and instead just embrace the process of as you clear out the old, the new will be shown to you. The way that we get to where we want to be is often not the way that we would have predicted that we would get there, right? So that doesn't discount the fact that we get there in the end and that sometimes the universe has this way more miraculous way of getting us to where we need to be. Don't get so hung up on the details right now. Let go of that need for perfection. And what I'm also seeing is the need for perfection within our own details. So maybe how we're perceived, maybe we are shedding some of those self-limiting beliefs and those fears around how we are perceived, and needing to be very meticulous about how we look, about how we present ourselves, about how we offer our work out into the world, whatever it may be for you, leaving behind some of those details and trusting that you are on your way, that it is going to happen. And from there, really releasing the need to control how you get to that destination. Okay, so a lot of these cards are showing me releasing control, releasing perfectionism, releasing the need to be meticulous about those details, and instead embracing the flow, allowing yourself to flow with life instead of against it in a way that allows the universe, this is what I'm hearing, allows the universe to come in and take the wheel. And as the universe comes in and redirects you on this path, if you are in the flow already and you are allowing those shifts to take place, then you are going to get there much more seamlessly. But if you are trying to hold on to control those details, or know everything, you don't need to know everything before you do it. A lot of our knowing comes through the actual process of getting to where we're going, or of actually doing what we are looking to do. So if you can at this time set some intentions, or really connect with yourself in this way that allows you to start shedding those beliefs about having to control the outcome, having to control how you get there, having to plan meticulously every single detail, and having these fears of how you are perceived and how you are showing up in the world, maybe how you present yourself or how this work comes out. Let go of those details. Let go of the need to know everything before you have begun, and really allow that space for the universe to come through and to just guide you step by step on your path. We don't climb a mountain by knowing what every step of the way is going to be, right? When we start at the bottom, I used to be really into hiking before my health took a shift. So when we start at the start of that path, yeah, we're excited to get to the top of the mountain, but we're also probably very excited for the path. We're probably really excited for the journey. I really liked hiking. I also really liked stopping to take photos along the way and really taking in the scenery and the nature that came along with that. And when you got to the top, it was liberating, right? And you could see everything. All of a sudden, your perspective went from trees and not being able to see through them to the top of a mountain, and you could see so far. I don't know if any of you are from Vancouver, BC, or if you've hiked the Chief or anything like that, but that's what I'm seeing right now is when I hiked the Chief, and you get to the top and you get to that third peak, and you can just see the view there is incredible. And had you known how treacherous that hike would be, you may not have done it, because you would have let your fear get to you, right? Your fear of not knowing every step of the way, your fear of not knowing what you might encounter on the trail. But when you do it, the experience that comes with it is profound. And when you do reach the top, it is liberating. But you don't expect to just reach the top in 10 steps, right? You know you're on a journey. You know that you're meant to take in that ride. So that's what this is kind of telling me here, is just really letting go of the need to know everything before you begin. Trust the path that you are on. Trust that as you shed those self-limiting beliefs and the things that no longer serve you, that the universe is going to come in and it is going to guide you and propel you on a path that is going to lead you to something that truly aligns with your highest and best self and your highest and best way of being for the level of embodiment that you carry at this time. Beautiful. So, also some symbolism here in case any of this symbolism is showing up for any of you in your lives. We have dolphins, we have fairies, we have a stork, we have a mountain, we have clarity, and we have a mouse. Actually, I've never noticed that mouse in this particular card before, so that is likely a message for you. You can go ahead and look up mouse symbolism and just pick through what messages might show up for you as an individual at this time. And we also have a compass. So really just trusting that the universe knows the way already and it's guiding you, and it will guide you based on your level of embodiment and your level of openness to receiving. Okay, is there anything else? This is a brand new deck to me, actually. I've only used it a couple of times. It's the Sacred Medicine Oracle by Asha Frost. The message that just came through to me was just what do you need to know as you are moving through this process for the spring equinox, as you are clearing out these outdated ways of being and planting your own seeds of intention. Okay, beautiful. So as you are planting your seeds of intention, just making sure that you're clearing the energy before you do that. So again, that's going to come in the form of clearing out those old ways of being, doing the weeding. Maybe you're going to do the planting seeds meditation that really supports you in digging deep into those roots and clearing them out. But for some of you, you might also want to or need to energetically clear your space and your energy when you are doing that. So that's something that's definitely going to come through in my spring equinox workshop if I'm able to get it up in time. But just taking that moment to clear the energy in your space in the ways that you know how, or in the ways that are accessible to you. So that might mean like smoke clearing or a clearing spray or using the power of intention and white light. For some of you, it's going to be a much more physical act of actually like spring cleaning your home. And again, as we create those shifts in our environment and clear out the old negative energy within our environment, it really opens up the space for the more positive energy to flow in, and it will flow in. As soon as that space is made, that shift will happen. You can trust that, right? But you have to make the space first. And as you are setting your intentions, really connecting with your sense of self-worth. So knowing that you are setting these intentions for your future from an embodied space of knowing your own inherent worth. Every single one of us is worthy, just exactly as we are. Not for our jobs, not for our physical abilities, not for our education level, not for any of these things that society and like capitalism has basically programmed us to believe, but just by being exactly who you are worthy. Every one of us carries inherent worth simply for being. So a lot of us have a lot of blocks to that, right? I know I am one. I still work through these worthiness blocks all the time. I spent a huge portion of my life basing my worthiness around my productivity level, and that's going to come out in some workshops in the future too. They're already the downloads have already come and they're partially drafted, but they're not ready yet. So if you can, again, like sit in meditation or in journaling and just ask yourself what is blocking you from, what's preventing you from really connecting with your own inherent worth, And what is it that makes you worthy? And the answer to what is it that makes you worthy could just be, I am alive. I am a human. I am here. I am being. And therefore, I am worthy. I am, and therefore, I am worthy. Okay? But when we manifest, when we set intentions, we really want to do that from a space of embodied self-worth. Okay? Because we don't attract so much of like what we okay, writing down our intentions is incredibly powerful, and there is so much space for that. And we attract what we feel. So it's not always as simple as clearing out and making the space and writing out our intentions, because the feelings and those subconscious beliefs that are running in the background run a lot of the show. And where our nervous system is attuned to and where our programmed beliefs are kind of running in the background tends to be where we manifest from, because it's frequency. Okay, so really just making sure that you are connecting with a sense of self-worth as you are doing this manifestation process, whatever you may do for spring equinox. And what I'm seeing is a rose quartz. So maybe bringing a rose quartz, if you are someone who is into crystals, who has crystals, you may want to bring a rose quartz into your practice with you. And from all of this, what I'm seeing is, or the card that I got was Trailblazer. If you can really truly clear out those weeds, connect with that sense of self-worth, make sure that you are doing what you need to do in your physical, mental, energetic, spiritual, heart space practices to clear out what no longer serves you, nothing can stop you. Okay, you are a trailblazer. I'm receiving a really clear message right now that these ideas and plans that are coming to you right now are where you are meant to go. So if you have been receiving maybe guided messages or kind of downloads recently of plans or ideas or a creative spark and you're not sure about them, just this is a message for you that that is where it's at for you right now. That is where you need to be shifting your focus to and heading right now. And again, that actually brings me full circle back to the beginning of this podcast when I said that when we receive those downloads from spirit and it is like a full body yes, where all of our cells in our body light up, but then bam, it's right away followed by like a full body no, this big fear response. Tune into what brings you into a full body yes, right? What are those ideas that come to you that really light you up and then are quickly followed by a no, by a fear response, or by a I can't, or what if, or whatever it may be of how that shows up in your body, right? For me, it shows up as often like this big expansion. It's almost like my whole body fills with light, and then bam, a big contraction. My fear sets in. Okay? So for you, I think that's the practice for you right now, is tuning into what is it that really lights you up? What are these ideas that have been coming to you that really give you this full body yes? And if they are quickly followed by a full body no, don't write them off. Okay? So connect with that full body yes and recognize that maybe that full body no is your fear kicking in afterwards, and it's not always something that you have to take so seriously. Wonderful. So I still want to, I can hear my toddler. Hopefully that's not too disruptive to you, because I would really like to still guide you through a bit of a gentle practice. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my light because I can tell that it's getting darker and darker as I record, for those of you who are watching me on YouTube or on Spotify. And then I'm going to go ahead and guide you through a bit of a journaling practice. So if you are in a position right now to sit down with a journal, then please grab your journal. If you are not in a position right now to grab your journal, then just allow these questions to just percolate into your body. You don't always need a journal for something like this, but some people really benefit from that, especially if you are kind of in the earlier days of these practices. Then actually writing them out can be incredibly powerful, not only for the intention practices, but sometimes writing it actually brings through messages from our higher selves that we may not have been able to access just through our mind if we are earlier on in learning how to do this work. So go grab your journal. I'll turn on my light. Okay. So wherever you are at this time and in whatever capacity you are able to join us in this practice in, whether you are ready to go with your journal right now or you are actually like driving or making dinner and not able to do that, I want you to just set the intention that you're going to connect with this practice in the way that works for you at this time, okay, whatever that may be. And for some of you, you might want to come back later and connect with this in a more thorough way, and I totally welcome that. And for some of you, you're going to get enough out of doing this in the way that you can in this moment, and that's beautiful too. So I want you to recenter yourself in the way that you can at this time, whether that be fully connecting with the ground beneath you, connecting in with your breath and your heart space. Or if you're driving, obviously you're going to keep your eyes open, stay focused on the road, and just set the intention that you're taking in these messages in the way that is right for you at this time. If you are somebody who is sitting in more of a practice at this time, then I'd like you to really feel your body against the ground beneath you, connecting in with your heart space. And I'd like you to take a moment to just acknowledge where you are in your life right now. How does that feel to you? Does it feel good? Does it feel bad? Is it neutral? Are you able to see how far you have come? Or does your focus immediately go to how far you have yet to go? Just bringing your attention to whatever arises for you. Maybe it's thoughts, maybe it's feelings, maybe it's just sensations in your body or pain points, places of discomfort or ease. Maybe you're having a moment of clarity, of expansiveness, or of how far you really have come. However this is sitting for you at this time, I want you to take a quick little inventory of how far you really have come. Chances are, if you have found my podcast, you're not totally new to growth. Okay, many of you have been on this path for a long time. Some of you will be newer to it, but either way, you're here for a reason. And if you're aligning with my energy and have found me, you're likely well on your way to growth. So I want you to take your pen and paper if you're journaling and just jot down, in what ways have I grown in the last 12 months? If you're not using a journal, then just welcome these ideas to come to your mind and into your body. Really allow them to be felt as they come up. How far have I grown? Or in what ways have I grown in the last 12 months? I think you'll realize that you have grown in really miraculous and incredible ways. And sometimes we need a reminder to look back briefly just to really see how far we've come. And now, in your journal or in your mind, I want you to ask, what blockages am I carrying to fully connecting with my inherent worth? And now, if you are writing this in a journal, for some of you who are beginners, it can be incredibly helpful to actually write that sentence out and let your hand finish it. So instead of writing it as a question, you would say, the blockages that I am carrying that are preventing me from truly connecting and accessing my inherent self-worth are. And then you would allow your pen to just finish that sentence for you. So feel free to just pause this episode as needed so that you can do whatever writing you need to do throughout this process, or to sit with any of these questions throughout this process. And again, of course, if you're not writing this down, just allowing it into your body. Allowing whatever these questions invoke to arise within you and to be noticed. We are bringing consciousness to the unconscious through this practice. So now I want you to say, I know that I am inherently worthy because. Just see what comes. I know that I am inherently worthy because. The next prompt will be, during this time of Spring Equinox, what is ready to be released from my life for the highest and best of everyone involved is. For those of you who are not journaling, the practice is really asking you to bring to the surface what it is in your life, in your mind, in your body, in your subconscious, in your beliefs, that just no longer serves you. What are the weeds of your subconscious mind that are ready to be cleared out at this time? Again, we're just taking gentle notice, almost like an inventory of what these questions invoke in us. And if you are journaling, then you're really letting your higher self come through the pen and do this labor for you. Without judgment, just notice what is arising for you at this time, okay? You don't need to analyze it or criticize it. You don't even really need to think about it. Just allow it to be shown to you in a neutral way without judgment. Now, the next prompt is going to be around what we would like to bring into our lives. Actually, no, I'm getting another one. I'm getting a really clear message. So, what is preventing me from letting go of what no longer serves me is? What is preventing me from letting go of what no longer serves me is. We are bringing conscious awareness to some of those attachments that sometimes get in the way of our higher self or the universe coming in and supporting us in shedding what is ready to be shed or released. And again, without judgment, offering ourselves love and grace throughout this process, knowing that the first step is bringing conscious awareness to this. Now, I want you to think about everything that you have in your life right now to be grateful for. I am grateful for. This list can be as long as you like, but even like 10 things is a really good amount if you can. We want to shift our energy in our body into a space of gratitude so that when we are considering what intentions we would like to set, what seeds we would like to plant, we are doing so from that space of gratitude, from that energy of already receiving. And now I want you to say, the seeds that my higher self would like me to plant at this time are. The seeds that my higher self would like me to plant at this time are. So again, this can be so powerful even without journaling. So for those of you who are not writing this down, don't feel as though you're necessarily missing anything. You might be if you're not really at this level yet, but what you really need less than a piece of paper is that felt sense. Okay, the clearing of your intuitive channels so that you can receive this information with ease, and then the felt sense in your body of where you are meant to be going, and almost feeling as though you already have it. Okay, knowing that, and by knowing, I mean it's like your body knows. Your body knows that you are already on this timeline, that you have access to this timeline if you're not already on it, that you are being led to make the shifts in your life and take the steps and make the changes that are necessary to put you onto this timeline. And what I'm being shown in my mind's eye right now is that perspective shift that we talked about earlier with the cards, where you're taking literally like 2-3 steps to the side and turning your body, and bam, it opens up for you. Okay? We all have so many timelines that are available to us at any given time. It's just a matter of where are we sending our focus? What steps are we actually taking? What are we releasing? What are we letting go of? What are we bringing in? So just sitting with that, seeing what comes up for you, really allowing it into your felt senses. And if you're struggling with that, take what came up for you in what seeds would you like to plant at this time. And I want you to vision in your mind or on paper, what would it feel like in your body if you already had that thing? If that was the life that you were already living, what would it feel like? What opportunities would it bring for you? What needs would it meet? Where would it create ease in your life? Where would it create joy or excitement or contentment in your life? Contentment not in a stagnant way, but in the way of, this is good. This feels good to me. Not being addicted to that next rush, that next high, but just knowing where I am right now feels so right. Okay. So I want you all to sit with that, whether you wrote it down, whether you felt it through your body. Just come back to that in the ways that you can throughout this month, and especially within the time of the spring equinox. If you don't have a practice to do during the spring equinox, you could definitely come back to this podcast, play it again, play this chunk for yourself again, and just do that practice. Really allow yourself to bring the unconscious to the conscious, right? Bring consciousness to the unconscious, and just observe what shows up for you, right? Be the observer of your life. What is showing up for you as you do these practices? And then in the days to follow, what is showing up in your life? What synchronicities, what signs, what people, what thoughts, what feelings and sensations are showing up in your body or your life that may be messages or direction, something that is possibly trying to show you where you can take those couple steps over, where you can do that perspective shift, and where you can allow yourself or invite yourself to see things from a higher perspective, see things from a higher lens without, you know, needing to know everything every step of the way in order to just begin. Thank you so much for being here, friends. I hope that this served you as much as it serves me, and hopefully even more. Do check out my mailing list. Keep an eye on my website for these changes that are coming. I am so excited for these changes as they take fruition. They are going to come in like layers or steps. So there is going to be a membership section being added where you can log in, you can access different workshops and ceremonies and multi-week programs and things like that. Eventually, probably not this year, but maybe in the future, that might shift into a more of a subscription model, but that's not coming this year, I don't think. So just get in there while you can for free, and then you can pick and choose what are these programs that serve you if they serve you, what are the meditations that serve you if you want to connect with them in a bit of a different way. A number of those will be paid programs, but the actual getting into the membership side of the site will not be. And down the line, again, I think probably about a year from now or so, we will be working in more of a community base within there so that you guys can connect with me, you can connect with each other, interact, you guys can make some connections with some like-minded people and access some energetic support along the way. And of course, I'm aiming to have some free content and things like that in there as well that only members will be able to access. So check that out. That's denisealyssa.com, DeniseElysa.com. And of course, check me out on Instagram, Facebook, whatever platform you're already on. So Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram is where I share the most of my smaller snippets of content, little channeled guidance, just kind of whatever comes through. And you get to know a little bit more about me and my life in there as well. So yeah, thank you for being here. I feel so honored and so blessed to hold this space for you and to create this container for your healing in this way. And I'm just so grateful that you're here. Without you, this wouldn't even be a thing, right? I wouldn't even do this work without you. So please like, share, subscribe, leave comments down below. I always stay in the comments for the first few days of things. So get at me there. And thank you. Thank you for being here. And I wish you the most lovely and gentle and transformative spring equinox as you really do connect with this rebirth energy that is available to you at this time. And thank you for being here. I hope this served. As always, I am trusting you to take what resonates with you and leave the rest behind. Please be sure to hydrate and care for yourself well, as any of the energetic transmissions, meditations, or self-healing prompts integrate into your system in the coming days or weeks. As with all the work that I do, I ask that this aligns for the highest and best of everyone involved, and I trust that you will only receive that which is in true alignment for you at this time. If this resonated with you, I invite you to consider giving back through your likes, ratings, comments, shares, or subscribes, as those help so much on these platforms. If you're ready to go deeper than what these platforms can provide, I offer ceremonies, workshops, guided practices, and more at www.denisealyssa.com. I look forward to connecting with you there.